Namaste everyone, Har Har Mahadev. So finally, I'm here with a podcast which is going to talk about 2024. It's like a sneak peek into 2024 and of course 2025 also. And I'm going to tell you why I'm doing this. Well, we are halfway through December and almost halfway through December, and we have about 19 days left for the new year, the Gregorian calendar, the solar calendar, which begins on the 1st of January to kick in. And of course, people look forward to this new year and the much called for New Year resolutions, which are never followed up until 7th of January. But I think everybody has this curiosity of how this year is going to be, and that is the reason why I am going to give you a lot of insights into this year. But at the same time, I will also tell you that anything general is not going to give you a complete understanding about what each month will bring to you, because of course each month I will be bringing in detail about the transits that will happen in that particular month. But however, there will be a lot of things in this podcast which you should take seriously and follow. And I know the internet is flooded with a lot of astrology, and spirituality and astrology are pretty trending nowadays, and everybody wants to follow that, and sometimes you just land up confusing yourself even more, because the source is very important. You need to check whether the source is just credible because the source has a lot of followers. Is it just credible or is it authentic? So there's a difference between a credible source and an authentic source, and that is exactly the essence of 2024 and 2025. Make sure that you make yourself an authentic person and not a very credible person, because credibility in these times is defined with the bank balance you have, or the present financial status you have, or how much you're trending, how many followers you have, etc., etc. Social media is deciding your credibility. Okay, so the more followers you have on social media, the more credible you become. And well, again, I leave it on to you, because we still need to understand that authentic will always be authentic. And we do know that there are many authentic people on this planet in various fields who are not even on social media. So that does not make them any less intelligent or any less famous or any less rich or wealthy, right? So, well, 2024, I am going to give you, and one, of course, sorry, but this podcast is going to be in English because of my international audience. I will use a lot of Hindi as well, but most of it will be in English so that the international audience can also understand and make use of this. I will give you astrological and numerological predictions both, because astronumerology makes a lot of sense when we are talking about a yearly general prediction. So let me start with, of course, 2024, which adds up to the number 8. And the number 8, as we all know, is a lot to do with the planet Saturn, Shani as we call it. And I speak about it a lot, and I will still tell you more. Now, अगर इसको मैं बोलूं तो यानी कि ये जो साल है 2024 वाला जो साल है, ये शनि प्रधान साल रहने वाला है. So there will be a lot of events, a lot of situations which will be to do with the planet Saturn in 2024. Now, what are the zodiacs which Saturn really governs, is Libra, Capricorn and Aquarius. So Saturn has a lot to do with these three zodiacs: Libra, Capricorn and Aquarius. And of course, remember that because ये शनि प्रधान राशियां होती हैं, तुला, मकर और कुंभ. Or more than that, also if your dates are to do with number adding up to number 8, so it's either you're born on the 8th or you're born on 17th or 26th, or else your age is your present age is adding up to 8. Say you're 26 years, you're 44, you're 35, or you're 53, or you're 80. If your present age is adding up to 8, is adding to the number 8, then this year needs some special care, advice, positives also, negatives also. So it all depends, because whenever the year is governed by Saturn, we say that it is a very, very strict planet, extremely strict. It's a strict taskmaster. It ensures that things happen his way, and because his way is the way of the cosmos. He is a planet, he is an energy which is a lot to do with delays, sudden issues in your life, illnesses. Suddenly people develop long-term illnesses, or the body becomes weak. Your feet, your legs are a lot to do with Shani. In fact, in astrology, I say that, I give these small tips when you realize that you are having a problem related to Saturn, Shani. So I like to say that, be very careful about the slippers that you're wearing. Your slippers should be very comfortable. Make sure your feet don't hurt with the slippers that you're wearing. Your slippers should not be torn or damaged in any way. This spoils the Shani. Make sure your slippers are well kept, your shoes are well kept in the house. Sometimes people have like 500 pairs of shoes, 200 pairs of shoes. It is insane. Remember one thing, that you should have a few pairs of shoes. You should have the best of shoes, but they should all be used. When the shoes are just stacked in your wardrobe and you haven't used them for a long time, that also somewhere spoils this energy of Shani. Shani is so much to do with karma that he always says that whatever you have, use it. And it has a lot of problem with stocking up things, like too many clothes, too many shoes, too much grocery, things getting spoiled in your refrigerator. All these things really annoy the energy of Shani, the energy of Saturn. Sometimes when people, I've seen it, that, when people have an afflicted Shani in their chart, and sometimes I don't even need to refer to the charts, because when I see somebody, I look at their aura, their color, their eyes. Sometimes people have a lot of pain in their joints. Suddenly they develop issues in their back, the spine, the shoulders. Mornings are not that great. Evenings, your body starts to hurt a lot. All these symptoms are to do with bad Shani. It means that Shani is not it's not in your favor. Sudden court issues, sudden losses, your income dipping. All these kind of things which just crop up, which start disturbing you a lot, because there are a few things which really disturb us. They exert a lot of pressure on us. That is to do with the planet Saturn. So if you're facing something like this, some people who misuse their abundance. I've come across so many people in my past 32 years of astrology and spiritual guidance, that I have seen people who misuse their position, power, their abundance, their money, and they suffer a lot eventually. So sometimes they don't realize what they're doing, but over a period of time, slowly, because Shani has his own pace. We say in astrology and spirituality, we say Shani, Shani, Shanishcharai. So it gives you things very slowly and it takes away things very slowly as well. So you might not realize, when the losses start happening, but eventually you will see that over a period of time, you will become broke. That is how Saturn behaves. So if you are misusing your position, power, rank, if you're cursing people, if you're abusing people, if you're gossiping about people, sorry to use the word, if you're bickering about people behind their back, if you're conspiring against people, all these things spoil your Shani. And that's the reason why people are very scared of the 19-year of Shani Mahadasha and the 7.5 year of Sade Sati. Because people just think that, oh my God, now I will suffer. Well, I think you should accept this fact that when a planet or an energy is given the responsibility of striking a balance in the universe, with the help of karma that we do, with the help of actions that we perform, not just in this birth but past birth also, then I think we should be very well prepared that it's not just the good deeds which will give us the results, but also our bad deeds that will show up when there is something to do with Saturn coming up. So this year is of course a lot to do with the planet Saturn, and Shani will make sure that your wrong deeds come to light. Whatever wrong you have done, whatever you have had in your life which is not good for you, because ultimately I think any form of balance has to happen in your life, because it's not good for you. You must understand that. It's because anything which is not good for you will not be good for your higher self also. So Saturn's work is to put things back in place. I also see through the various predictions and various classic texts that we use in astrology that this year will see some unpleasant events. And when I say unpleasant events, I mean there are going to be some events which will not make us very happy, they will make us sad. And that sadness will come because of non-acceptance. So for people who are already on a spiritual path, I'm going to keep coming back to this spiritual word, okay? Because now is the time to also understand what is true spirituality, authentic spirituality, and not just the fad and the trending spirituality. Because nowadays everybody wants to be spiritual. They are spiritual. I mean, you speak to a cab driver also, he will have some bhajans playing in his car and he would insist that he is also spiritual. So this year is also going to be about understanding the true meaning of spirituality and to differentiate between something which is pseudo and authentic. This will happen in all areas, okay? So you can word by word understand and follow what I'm going to say. Common people. Shani is a lot to do with common people, while the sun is to do with the king. Shani is to do with the kingdom, the people, the masses. Now, what we are going to experience in 2024 on the individual level, on your organization level, on your family level, on your country level, on the world level is that the people are going to understand who is a real leader and who is a pseudo leader. So they will choose a real leader. So you can be rest assured that if you have followed the values that make you a real Swami, that make you a real leader, that make you as I always have been speaking about, a tapasvi and a sannyasi leader in my satsangs. If you have been following those qualities religiously, be rest assured that this year onwards is going to be a high for you. But if you have only been pretending to be a leader, if you have been only pretending to be that parent, if you have been pretending to be that teacher, that doctor, that architect, whatever profession you belong to, then I think you will find yourself being court-martialed this year onwards, okay? And Saturn is also a lot to do with servants. He's also to do a lot with, because Saturn is Sevak. He likes to serve on the ground. So for all of us who are leaders on the ground, who can work, who can understand, who can give their time to the last person, who can understand their pain, who can share their time, their resources, I think for them it is going to be a year of growth and progress. If you have, now I'm going to put a very big disclaimer here, because you must understand this to understand how 2024 is going to be for you. And this is irrespective of whatever dasha you're having. If you're having a dasha of Shani, if you're having a dasha of Ketu and Rahu, anyways this gets amplified. Okay? But if you're, that's why I'm saying that general predictions is just to understand on a more macro level how your life is going to be. But do remember that the good things can amplify if your Mahadasha is good, and the more serious problems can start arising if you are under the Mahadasha of some malefic planet, or if Shani is not well placed in your chart. So be of service to humanity. I see a lot of movement in certain sectors. I like to talk about this on a more general perspective. I see a lot of movement in sectors like real estate and construction, agriculture, aviation industry, legal, judiciary systems, the pharmaceutical industry. I see a lot of movement in these, because somewhere they are a lot to do with Shani. The metal, iron, the metals are a lot to do with Shani. The automobile industry is a lot to do with Shani. So there is going to be a lot of movement in these areas. If I look at the world scenario, there are going to be some sensitive areas which is to do with the West. The western part of the world is going to be extremely sensitive, which is your US, the American continent essentially. Canada is something which in my last few podcasts, I have spoken about this as well. So Canada is something big seems to be happening in Canada. If I talk of India, then the western parts of India, because what I also see is a lot of water related issues. Remember the floods of 2005 in Mumbai. A lot of water related issues. I'm not saying there will be floods in Mumbai, but I'm also saying that the water element seems to be very aggravated this year, the coming year. So we can expect a lot of water related disasters, also. The western parts are sensitive, and I also feel that politically also the government needs to take a lot of care and caution both towards the western part of our country. Shani is a very irritable planet also, okay? And it brings a lot of confrontations because it cannot tolerate corruption. Hear me out carefully. You will be able to relate, and in fact, some things might just quickly change in your own self while you're hearing this podcast. Shani is a very irritable planet. It gets irritated when it sees corruption. When it sees anything wrong happening, it gets extremely irritated and aggravated also. So you might be put under some confrontations. In fact, one of my podcasts, I think, for the past 3-4 months, when I have been giving podcasts and the wars I don't like to use the word war actually, because I feel that every time an authority uses a word, it kind of becomes tathastu. But I did say that there is going to be a lot of turbulence, and then the Ukraine-Russia war, and then the present war going on. So I just feel that these geopolitical shocks. I'm sorry, I'm just being a little delayed because I'm also seeing the transits and talking simultaneously. So a lot of geopolitical shocks can happen in the next 2 years. One of my podcasts, I spoke about Shani coming into Dhanishta Nakshatra and these issues increasing. So the mundane astrology that we usually use for making predictions about the country, it says that whenever Saturn and Jupiter come close, then the fears arise in all beings, So if you remember that in 2020, Saturn and Jupiter started coming close, and the fears started arising. So COVID was a lot to do with fear, whether it was the fear of the virus or the fear of the lockdown and fear of death or whatever. So every time there's a conjunction. So how do we study these is the conjunction. So on a more holistic level, we see that what are the conjunctions going to happen in 2024. And conjunctions does not mean that two planets are actually going to come and sit together. It's the conjunctions are the conjunctions of rays. When the rays of Jupiter and the rays of Saturn meet. So everything is about the Jyoti, hence the word Jyotish, So when the rays meet is when we can study that how this is going to affect the planet and our country and the individual. So I urge you all to not look at 2024 independently, but look at it as a series of events starting from 2020. Okay, let's not look at 2024 independently. It is going to be completely wrong, because whatever was triggered in 2020 is going to be a series of events now. And I remember that Facebook Live I did in August of 2019, where I said that December solar eclipse of 2019 is going to change everything. I'm sure that is on record. We can never change the dates. I did honestly not know that it's going to be COVID really, but because of these conjunctions, because I knew that Jupiter and Saturn are going to come close, and it is going to create a huge fear and a huge insecurity, and that is what happened, but it happened with COVID. So similarly, I see such events happening more and more in the coming 2 years. And the food affected badly when Saturn and Mars enter Capricorn, because it's the earthy sign. Capricorn is an earthy sign. So whenever Saturn and Mars are together, then whatever is grown on earth starts getting affected, and hence, the food industry will be affected. Because honestly, if I link it to the present situation of Ukraine and Russia, and we know that there's a lot of production that is supplied across the world from Ukraine and Russia. And if the conjunction of Saturn and Mars is going to affect this, and what if one day they just decide that they're not going to supply anything anymore, so you can imagine that we will face a deprivation of food. So there are going to be very, very big events as well happening in 2024. In fact, there are going to be 5 eclipses this year, by the way. Usually we have 4, 2 solar and 2 lunar, but 2024 is going to see 5 eclipses, 3 lunar and 2 solar. Okay, and it starts from a lunar eclipse. Of course, as we proceed, there are going to be some important changes. Now, for your information, let me repeat that moon changes its zodiac every 2.5 days. Sun changes its zodiac, its sign, every 1 month, and hence completes all the 12 zodiacs in the year, and hence we call it the solar year. Okay. But of course, there are going to be a lot of other events, like, February 5th, where Mercury enters Aquarius. Then, Mars is going to enter Aquarius. So there are going to be many, many events, which I will, of course, tell you month by month. But the first eclipse, which is the full moon lunar eclipse that is happening on March 25th, needs a lot of care. Okay, and then it's the solar eclipse on April 8th. So we are going to see these eclipses changing a lot of things. A very important event that, my God, is going to need hours and hours of talking is Saturn's movement. And there's going to be a lot about Saturn in 2024, including the fact that Saturn is in Aquarius right now, and when it moves into Pisces, you're going to see how things just change so much. So many conflicts and so many issues will arise. Now, the crux of 2024 that I'm telling you, I've told you that it is to do with the number 8, and Saturn will show its full form in 2024. But at the same time, if your karmas, because it's so much to do with your actions, your karma, and in the right language, if I say, it is your purusharth. And make sure you're, another thing I see, selfish people, because if it's just about my relationships, my money, my people, my family, my children, my husband, my parents, if it's just about that, you might just find yourself very unhappy in 2024, because just understand that Saturn is extremely, and whenever Saturn's numbers take over, Saturn's years take over, it just finds itself in a very powerful position, and it wants to do what it wants to do. And we cannot really say that it will be very lenient for a few. It's very fair. So it will just be good for people who are legends when it comes to values. It will just be very good for people who are on a spiritual path, and I would say a truly spiritual path. And please, please, please stay away from people who make fun of spirituality or who create stories, because ये ऐसे लोग हैं जो शायद ये आपके सौभाग्य को दुर्भाग्य बना सकते हैं. Now if you see at least in our country, if you see that there's a whole wave, there's a whole tsunami of leaders. In fact, even on the country level, if you see that dharma is being talked about, and dharma means spirituality, and that is the only way out now. So just before you guys get trapped with something which is not real, with something which is not authentic, hold on. And there is no other way except following the path of dharma. And that is exactly the message of 2024. That is exactly the message of Shani. Even though you want to change from right now, but don't forget that your ledger is already created. Your balance sheet has enough debits. So just by surrendering now will not mean that your debits are going to be erased. Your balance sheet is all in credit. No, that doesn't happen. Shani will make sure that you pay for every wrong deed that you have done in the past. Okay? Make sure you follow dharma. Make sure you are aligned to the spiritual laws, and do not make fun of your country. Do not make fun of the saints. Do not make fun of the spirituality laws in any way, because that is something which Shani does not tolerate. And history has proved that if people have done it, they have lost their character. The biggest example is Ravan, who was one of the biggest And I mean, I'm comparing, but there is no comparison because he was one of the most ardent devotees of Mahadev, but only because he lost his character. His own people told him that you are a Rakshasa, you're a demon. His own people said it, you know. So people are going to, the common man, your people will have power, and they will decide uh, who you are. So please be humble, please be selfless, and please follow the principles of Saturn. That is one very strong message that 2024 has for you. Monthly, I will be sending out podcasts, and it is a very eventful month, eventful year, believe me. And 2025 even more, because Saturn is going to enter Pisces. So we better prepare ourselves before that happens, because whenever Saturn enters Pisces, there are a lot of turbulent events that happen across. Okay, so thank you very much for listening to me, and I really pray and hope that you are all understanding the meaning of true spirituality, and you are able to understand how important it is to have a guru in your life who is only in your life to give you gyan, so that you can be on the righteous path. Thank you very much for listening. Har Har Mahadev, and you guys have a splendid time.